What's up, everybody? This is Derek here, and welcome to episode 2 of PUBG Mobile's Tips, Tricks, and Myths, the new series on this channel that focuses on proving or disproving what you leave in the comment section, as well as providing helpful tips and tricks for the game that, while useful, aren't significant enough to warrant their own videos. So last time we started out in the water, and we asked the question, do you swim faster swimming backwards in the game versus forwards? And at most, there's a percentage or two of a difference, and it's really not enough to warrant, in my opinion, swimming backwards, because then you have to look behind you and it's a little more difficult to get where you want to go. So on the suggestion of Greenleaf, as well as a number of others, they want to know, can you swim faster underwater or on top of the water? So we're going to get our baseline here. This is just swimming out to this island. It's very repeatable because the distance is the same. And we're going to swim on top of the water first just to see how long that takes. And whether or not you're faster or not, I recommend swimming under the water when you can, because one, it's much more difficult to hit you, and two, it's much more difficult to see you. So just for those reasons alone, as long as you're not slower, then I think it's definitely worth swimming underwater while you can. So that was our baseline. I got about 33.5 seconds. Let me know if you got something different. I used the stopwatch, and that should be fairly accurate. So what we'll do now is we're underwater and we're going to do the same exact swim, and we'll see how long it takes. So hopefully it's at least the same amount of time. You do notice though that I am running out of air almost already, and this is the biggest disadvantage to swimming underwater. So if you run out of air, you start taking damage. Obviously, we're in training mode right now, so you can't take damage, which is nice. However, in a real game, just know that you're going to need to surface. Otherwise, you're going to be taking a lot of unnecessary damage, which isn't good. So we're still swimming out to the island. We got a couple seconds left, and as soon as we hit, I'll stop the clock. There we go. So I got about 33 seconds that time, and I'd add, or subtract rather, about half a second or so for those two little adjustments I made maybe. So if there's a difference in swim speed, it is at most 1 or 2%, at least in my testing. So over a longer distance, perhaps that will be greater. However, you can't really swim much more than that underwater because you're going to be taking damage, and it's just not worth it at that point. So I recommend that you swim underwater until you start running out of air, then you surface momentarily, recharge your air supply, and then go back underwater so you're more difficult to spot and are untargetable basically. So next up, we're going to be moving on to a tip that was provided by Editech or Editech17, who said, if you find two 8x scopes, which is pretty difficult, but if you do in a game, don't pick up both of them or use both of them, because the new 8x scopes, as you saw in the last video, are adjustable between 8x and 4x. So we have two sniper rifles here, and they both have 8x scopes on them. I adjusted the one down to 4x from 8x, and you can see it saved that when I went to aim down the scope again. Now we're on the M24, and look at that. Even though this is an 8x scope, it was set to 4x, the same as what I just set the other one to. So now we'll go ahead and we'll set this one somewhere in the middle, maybe around 6x or so, and we'll see if when we switch back to the other, yep, that's the same. So just as he was pointing out, this is a bug currently. If you have two 8x scopes, well, just know that when you adjust one of them, you're going to have to adjust both of them. Now, I'd argue that if you find two 8x scopes, it's still better than an 8x and a 4x, because it doesn't take that long to adjust them, and it's just nice having that versatility. However, maybe one 8x and then a fixed 4x would be good too, because then if you wanted to swap them, you still have the adjustability of the 8x scope, and then you have a fixed 4x. So I don't know. I think it's kind of potato. I don't think it makes that big of a difference. However, it's definitely a bug, and one that's interesting, because I don't know if the game designers just didn't think that we would find two 8x scopes in the same games. However, if you do, just keep it in mind that when you adjust the magnification of one of those scopes, it's going to adjust the other one too. And now for a final tip, a number of you have asked about this, and yes, in the 0.5.0 update, the current global update, you can still crouch run silently with an UZI or any of the other weapons that this works with. So I'm showing you here the R45, which is the new handgun, And as you can hear, there's no sound. So I'm gonna have to mute the parts where other people shoot just so you don't blow out your eardrums. However, you can hear that there is no sound when I'm running crouched. So just like before, awesome. And here are the other two new weapons, and both of these do make noise. So be aware that these are the sawed off and the Win, and both of these do make noise when you're running crouch. So the R45, because it's a handgun, so it's all pistols in the game currently. The AUG and the Groza and the micro UZI. So those are all the weapons. Now there's up to 8 total. So with the addition of the R45, now we have 8 guns total that allow you to silently crouch run without making any noise, which is super useful. It only works if you're crouch running straight ahead. It doesn't work to the side or if you're running backwards. However, super useful, and I know a number of you have posted stories about how this actually helps you win a game, which is pretty cool. Now in the Chinese version 0.6.1, I made a video about how this does not work anymore, so I'm assuming that the next global update that's out in June is probably going to patch this and it will be no longer. However, for the next month or so, I might as well enjoy it because it's still a thing. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this second episode of PUBG Mobile tips, tricks, and myths. Definitely look for a special video coming out soon, if it's not out already, on reaching 10,000 subscribers for the channel, which is super awesome. And I have a number of questions to ask you guys because I want to keep the community engaged in what they want to see coming up. We have to name ourselves and do a bunch of other fun stuff. So if this video helped you out, definitely give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. My name's Derek G, and I hope to see you on the battlefield soon.